The dust drifted lazily across the dry ranch road that afternoon, carried by a desert breeze that usually brought peace. But not today. Today, he stood at the entrance to his land, holding a rifle with the same steady hands that once carried justice. His eyes were locked on two men kneeling in the dirt, wearing bright green HOA shirts and trembling beneath the scorching sun. Behind them, a white SUV emblazoned with bold HOA lettering idled as if patrolling enemy territory. And, from the side, the local deputy watched with an expression caught somewhere between confusion and guilt. This wasn't a movie scene. It wasn't a drill. It was a final line drawn after weeks, no months, of targeted harassment, quiet manipulation, and a violation so bold it stripped away every illusion of safety he once felt. It had all started with a letter, an unsigned notice claiming his dangerous firearms had been confiscated for community safety. A notice from an HOA he didn't belong to, an HOA that had no authority over him, an HOA that never wanted him in the neighborhood to begin with. The moment he opened his gun safe and found it empty, he knew this was not about property rules. This was about power, about prejudice, about putting him back in his place. He had spent his life protecting others. Now he had to defend himself, and the truth behind why they targeted him would shake the entire community. Watch until the end, because what he uncovered changed everything. Wait a second. Let us know where you're watching from in the comments, and make sure to subscribe for more powerful and inspiring stories just like this one. He had moved to this ranch for a reason: silence, space, and freedom. After retiring from the police department, he had no interest in dealing with city rules, neighborhood committees, or petty politics. Out here, he had land, real land, open fields, a vast sky, and a place where a man could breathe again. His days were simple. Mornings spent repairing fences, afternoons working on old equipment, evenings sitting on the porch listening to nothing but the hum of nature. He wasn't looking for trouble and had never been the type to intrude on others' lives. But despite the quiet, he felt eyes on him. Not the friendly kind. The kind that follow you with suspicion. The type that whispers when you walk past. Some neighbors avoided him altogether. Others pretended politeness, but flinched every time they saw his skin color or noticed the old police decals on his garage cabinet. They didn't know his story. They didn't care. They had already decided who he was. He knew what these looks meant. He'd seen them all his life, long before he wore a badge. Judgment disguised as concern, fear disguised as community standards. People who believed some folks didn't belong near them. But he ignored it. This was his land. His peace. He kept his firearms legally stored in a steel safe, something he had installed himself. These weren't trophies. They were symbols of training, service, and responsibility. But then things changed. Cars slowed whenever passing his property. HOA volunteers he had never met began surveying the edge of his land. He'd find footprints near his barn that didn't match his own. And neighbors who once waved now stared. He didn't live under their rules, but they acted as he did. And soon he would learn they were preparing to enforce those rules by force. The day he opened his gun safe and found it empty, something cold spread through him. He checked the hinges, the lock, the metal, no scratches, no break marks, no damage at all. Whoever did this knew exactly how to get in, and knew exactly what they were taking. His hands trembled, not with fear, but with a fury. Someone had violated his home, his trust, his life. The next morning, he found an HOA agent leaning casually against his fence, clipboard in hand, staring like he was inspecting livestock. The message was clear. We took what we wanted. What will you do about it? He didn't engage. Not yet. Later that week, whispers traveled through town. Someone had spread rumors that he was stockpiling weapons and was potentially dangerous. Nobody asked him if any of it was true. They believed it. Because in their eyes, he fit their definition of danger. One evening, while checking the boundaries of his land, he saw two HOA members measuring something near his barn. They didn't even pretend to hide it. When he stepped closer, they hurried back to their vehicle and sped away, leaving tire tracks slicing through the dirt. That night, he noticed movement near his shed, two figures slipping behind the building. When he turned on the floodlight, they ran. It became undeniable. They were building a case against him. One based on stereotypes, assumptions, and fear, not facts. He learned that the HOA had recently expanded its influence. They held private meetings. They created new, unofficial guidelines. They circulated internal lists. And right at the top of their community concerns document was his name. Only his name. They claimed he was unstable, aggressive, dangerous. They painted him as a threat simply because they decided he was one. Then, he discovered the worst part. They hadn't only stolen his guns, they had been using his missing firearms to justify more surveillance, more rumors, more concerned reports. Their goal wasn't to enforce rules, their goal was to remove him permanently, and they were willing to lie, steal, and trespass to make it happen. The moment came under a blazing sun. He was checking the far end of his property when he spotted two HOA members climbing through his fence, bold as daylight, marching straight toward his storage shed. They carried tools, bags, and the arrogance of men who believed nothing could stop them. That was it. He grabbed his rifle, racked around, and walked toward them with the authority he once carried in uniform. The men froze, then dropped to their knees. Behind them, the HOA SUV rolled to a stop. Another member stepped out, face twisted with guilt, fear, and entitlement. The deputy, who arrived shortly after, tried to mask his discomfort, but even he couldn't deny what was happening. This was a planned intrusion, an illegal operation, a racist power play, and now they were caught. His voice stayed steady. His stance is firm. He didn't threaten them. He reclaimed what was his. The entire scene, captured by distant phones, showed the truth. He wasn't a threat. They were. For the first time, the community saw how far the HOA was willing to go to push out someone. They had labeled an outsider, and suddenly, the narrative flipped. Once the videos surfaced online, everything for the HOA collapsed. The sheriff launched a full investigation. One by one, the lies unraveled. His missing firearms were found hidden in a storage unit rented under the HOA. Treasurer's name. Evidence showed meetings where they planned to deal with him quietly. Notes revealed coded language, bias-filled comments, and fabricated accusations designed to justify their actions. The HOA board resigned under pressure. Some were charged, others fled public life entirely. He remained, but he wasn't unchanged. He now carried the heavy truth of what had been done to him, not because he was dangerous, but because prejudice still existed in places disguised as safe neighborhoods. Yet, something unexpected happened. Neighbors who once avoided him came forward to apologize. Others admitted they suspected something was wrong, but were afraid to speak. The community, shaken by what they witnessed, began confronting long-ignored issues. His story became more than a property dispute. It became a symbol, a warning, a reminder, a call for accountability. He stood tall through it all, because he had faced worse and survived worse. But in the quiet of the night, sometimes he wondered how many others suffer in silence because no one is watching, and where in the world are you watching from today? Take care.